Here's a brutal question most people avoid. Why do you study, take notes, watch videos, and still forget almost everything a few days later? It's not because you're bad at learning. It's because your brain is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Psychology shows that forgetting is the default. In fact, within 24 hours, your brain can lose up to 70% of new information. And that silent leak is destroying your productivity, your confidence, and your self-development without you even noticing. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. If forgetting is natural, then forcing more effort won't fix it. Studying harder, longer, or more emotionally just accelerates burnout. This is why discipline alone keeps failing you. Your mindset thinks repetition is the solution, but the brain responds to structure and timing, and that raises a dangerous thought. What if the problem was never your intelligence, but the system you've been using your entire life? Because somewhere in the world, students are doing the impossible. Japanese students memorize over 2,000 kanji, complex symbols, and retain them for life, not through talent, not through pressure, through rhythm, through methods that work with the brain, not against it. And once you understand that system, learning stops feeling heavy and starts feeling inevitable. Stay quiet, stay sharp, stay in progress. Here's the uncomfortable truth most people never hear. Your problem isn't laziness or lack of intelligence. It's rhythm. You can study for hours, grind harder, push discipline to the limit, and still forget almost everything. Psychology shows that the brain doesn't respond well to brute force. It responds to consistency and timing. In self-development, effort without structure feels productive, but it quietly sabotages retention. That's why productivity collapses when motivation fades. The Japanese approach doesn't start with tricks, apps, or endless notes. It starts with respecting how the brain actually works across a day. Memory, mental focus, and discipline follow biological waves, not willpower. When you align your mindset with those waves, learning stops feeling heavy. This is one of those life lessons nobody teaches in school. Doing the right thing at the wrong time weakens results. Rhythm turns effort into leverage. Think of learning like training a muscle. Intensity matters, but timing matters more. A calm, repeated daily cadence builds long-term personal growth far better than chaotic bursts of motivation. This is why Japanese students don't rely on emotional highs. They rely on systems that carry them forward, even on low-energy days. Time management here isn't about squeezing more hours in. It's about protecting the right moments. That's the core idea guiding everything in this video. Not a magic method, not a secret shortcut, but a daily rhythm that compounds quietly. And once you see learning as a full-day cycle, things start to click. Morning, afternoon, night, each phase has a role your brain expects. Miss that structure, and memory leaks. Understand it, and everything changes, starting with how you begin your day. Most people wake up and immediately throw their brain into chaos. Notifications, artificial light, rushed thoughts, and then they wonder why mental focus feels broken. Japanese routines flip this completely. The morning isn't about information yet, it's about calibration. Natural light, even for 5 minutes, resets circadian rhythm and sharpens mindset. A short walk, stretching, or light movement tells your brain, we're awake, but we're not panicking. This matters more than motivation. Morning light regulates cortisol, which directly affects memory, productivity, and emotional control. Skip this step, and your brain stays foggy, no matter how disciplined you think you are. That's a quiet life lesson most people learn too late. Energy comes before effort. You don't force focus, you create the conditions for it. That's how self-development becomes sustainable instead of exhausting. Once the body is awake, the Japanese system introduces something deceptively simple: ritual. This is method number 1, shu, the art of deep focus. Before real work starts, a repeated micro-action signals the brain that distraction time is over. Organizing the desk, brewing tea, lighting a candle, or taking 3 slow breaths. It sounds small, but psychologically it locks the door behind you. Ritual removes decision fatigue. You're not asking, should I focus now? The ritual already answered that. Over time, your brain associates that action with immersion and calm discipline. No hype, no pressure, just consistency. And once this focused state is activated, something counterintuitive happens next. The first task isn't learning anything new. It's testing what you already know. And that's where the real memory work begins. Here's where most people get it wrong and pay for it with forgetfulness. They start the day consuming new information, hoping repetition will save them later. Japanese study philosophy does the opposite. Once focus is activated through shu, the first cognitive task is retrieval, not intake. This is method number 2, active recall. Forcing the brain to pull information out before adding anything new. It's uncomfortable, but that discomfort is exactly what strengthens memory. Psychologically, this works because your brain treats retrieval as a signal of importance. When you struggle to remember, neurons fire, reconnect, and reinforce pathways. That's personal growth happening at a biological level. Instead of rereading notes, you close the book and ask yourself questions. What did I study yesterday? Can I explain it out loud? That single habit outperforms hours of passive productivity. Think of active recall as a mental sparring match. Samurai didn't sharpen their swords by staring at them. They trained through controlled resistance. Same principle here. Flashcards, blank page summaries, teaching the concept to an imaginary audience. All of these force engagement. This trains mindset, discipline, and mental focus simultaneously. It feels slower, but it compounds faster. And here's the twist most people don't expect. This morning recall session doesn't need to be long. 10 to 15 minutes is enough to prime the brain. Once retrieval is done, learning accelerates naturally. Information sticks because it has somewhere to attach. That's why the rest of the day feels different. Lighter, clearer, more intentional. And that clarity sets the stage for how the afternoon should be structured. By the afternoon, most people fight their brain instead of working with it. Energy dips, attention scatters, and productivity turns into fake effort. Japanese routines don't ignore this. They design around it. This phase is about structure, not intensity. Focused work happens in strategic blocks, usually 40 to 50 minutes, followed by short, real breaks. Walking, stretching, staring out the window, not scrolling, allows the brain to consolidate what was learned. This is where method number 3 enters. The Kumon principle. Small steps, zero overwhelm. Instead of attacking massive topics, the material is broken into microtasks that feel almost too easy. One concept, one page, one problem. This creates momentum without draining willpower. Each small win releases dopamine, reinforcing discipline and keeping mindset sharp. That's how time management becomes psychological leverage, not pressure. Here's the insight most people miss. Your brain doesn't crave achievement, it craves progress. Kumon-style learning feeds that need perfectly. Finishing something small trains confidence and emotional stability. You stop negotiating with yourself. Just one more step becomes automatic. Over time, this builds personal growth quietly, without burnout. Productivity stops feeling heroic and starts feeling normal. Once progress is structured, retention still needs protection. That's when method number 4 appears naturally. Spaced repetition, the gardener's mindset. You don't dump all water on a plant at once, you return at the right intervals. Information works the same way, but timing matters, and most people either review too much or not at all. That's why the next layer of the afternoon routine changes everything. Here's where method number 4, spaced repetition, stops being theory and becomes strategy. Most people review when they feel like forgetting, not when the brain actually needs reinforcement. Japanese systems schedule reviews intentionally, 24 hours later, then a few days after, then a week. Each return happens right before forgetting would erase the memory. That timing tells the brain, this matters. And memory listens. This method respects how the brain saves energy. Instead of endless rereading, you touch the material briefly but repeatedly. 10 focused minutes beat an exhausted hour. Flashcards, short quizzes, quick summaries, nothing fancy. What matters is spacing, not volume. This is how discipline becomes lighter and productivity smarter. You're no longer chasing memory, you're meeting it where it lives. But there's another silent factor most people ignore in the afternoon: food. Heavy meals hijack mental focus by pulling blood flow toward digestion. Japanese routines favor light, balanced meals that stabilize energy instead of crashing it. Think lean protein, vegetables, rice, simple combinations. Nothing extreme. The goal isn't dieting, it's clarity. Self-development collapses quickly when the brain is foggy. When learning is spaced correctly and energy is protected, the afternoon stops feeling like survival mode. Information sticks with less effort. You feel progress instead of pressure, and something subtle happens. Confidence rises. Because the system is working, not because you're forcing it. That calm confidence prepares the mind for the most underestimated phase of learning. What you do at night before sleep decides what you'll remember tomorrow. Most people end their day the same way they started it: distracted, overstimulated, mentally noisy. Japanese routines treat the last moments of the day as sacred. The final 10 minutes before sleep are not for learning new things, they're for signaling importance. A light review of what was studied tells the brain, save this. This small habit has an outsized impact on long-term memory and mental focus. This works because your brain doesn't store memories equally. It prioritizes what feels relevant and recent. A calm pre-sleep review creates emotional closure and cognitive order. No pressure, no testing, just gentle recall. Skimming notes, mentally summarizing the day, or writing 3 bullet points is enough. This is time management at its smartest. Minimal effort, maximum retention. Then comes the real superpower, sleep itself. Deep sleep is where information is transferred from short-term storage into long-term memory. Without it, even the best study methods collapse. That's why Japanese systems obsess over sleep hygiene. Lower lights, fewer screens, a consistent bedtime. Discipline here isn't strict, it's protective. Personal growth depends on restoration more than motivation. When the mind enters sleep calmly, consolidation accelerates. Neural pathways stabilize. Emotional regulation improves. You wake up clearer, not heavier. This is the part people resist because it feels passive. But it's not. It's strategic restraint. And once this foundation is in place, something subtle but powerful closes the day. Not perfection, but a tiny improvement that compounds quietly over time. Here's where method number 5. Kaizen quietly separates people who change from people who stall. Japanese philosophy doesn't ask for dramatic breakthroughs. It asks for 1% better, daily. Ending the day with a micro win, even something small, sends a powerful signal to the brain. Progress is happening. That could be completing a short review, organizing tomorrow's notes, or clarifying one concept. Discipline grows when success feels reachable. This matters because the brain remembers how the day ended, not how intense it was. A small, intentional finish builds emotional closure and reinforces identity. You don't go to sleep feeling behind. You go to sleep aligned. Over time, this rewires mindset. Personal growth stops being emotional and starts being structural. That's how self-development becomes calm instead of stressful. Then comes something most systems ignore. The power of pause. Before sleep, moments of quiet allow the brain to transition into restoration mode. No input, no optimization, just stillness. A few deep breaths. Silence. This space is where mental focus resets and noise dissolves. Ironically, doing nothing here is one of the most productive acts of the entire day. When Kaizen closes the loop and pause seals the nervous system, learning becomes sustainable. Not heroic, not forced, just consistent. And this is the point most people miss. Memory isn't built in moments of pressure, but in systems that respect the brain's rhythm. Once that rhythm is clear, everything else becomes easier. Learning, productivity, and how to live better. And that's where the real shift begins. Here's what all of this really comes down to. Japanese mastery isn't about intelligence, talent, or grinding harder. It's about aligning proven methods with a biological rhythm your brain already understands. When focus is prepared in the morning, learning is structured in the afternoon, and memory is sealed at night, retention stops being a struggle. Productivity becomes calm, discipline feels lighter, and personal growth finally sticks. Now make this practical. Imagine you're studying for an exam, learning a new language, or mastering a professional skill. Morning, light exposure, a short ritual, and 10 minutes of active recall. Afternoon, one focused block using small steps and spaced repetition. Night, a 5-minute review, good sleep, and one tiny Kaizen win. That's it. No overload, no burnout. Just a system that compounds quietly. So here's your challenge, and don't overthink it. Choose one habit to start tomorrow. Just one. Maybe active recall in the morning, maybe a light review before sleep. Don't chase perfection. Chase rhythm. Drop in the comments which habit you're committing to. Saying it out loud changes behavior. And if this video helped you rethink learning, memory, and mental focus, subscribe to Mind in Progress and turn on notifications. We're here to upgrade your mind, one idea at a time. And before you go, understand this. Learning doesn't start when you open a book. It starts when you wake up. That's why you need to watch the next video on your screen. 12 morning habits that decide how happy you'll feel before 9 a.m. Science-backed. Because if your mornings are broken, no system can save the rest of your day. Stay quiet, stay sharp, stay in progress.